Hi, this is Corey McCarthy, and welcome to a new episode of Fit, Formidable, and Fantastic. That's right. Go F yourself, and happy Friday. In this episode, I want to address a topic that I see asked all the time. And I've touched on it in various ways before, but I'm going to directly hit on a specific point of this, and that is when it comes to exercising, specifically weights, but you could apply it to any form of exercise that stresses your body. How much is too much? How much is enough? And how do you know if you're overtrained? Well, this is really individualized. The answer would be individualized. Let's put it that way. It's not something I can simply say, this is the definitive answer for you, he, she, whatever. It's very individual. Overtraining is very real, and there have been studies. In fact, there's a study on the effects of glutamine that came out in the 90s that showed glutamine and its interactions with the body and how it affects overtraining. And they found that in athletes with low glutamine levels were overtrained. But this episode is not about glutamine, but overtraining, some people think it's a myth, but it does appear in research. Overtraining, as I understand it, is whenever you tax your central nervous system beyond the ability for your body to recover. In other words, you are exercising so much that you have exceeded your body's recovery abilities. Your body's recovery abilities. Not my body, not the next guy's body, but your body. And that's a very important thing to note. The reason I stress your body is because what it will take for you to overtrain and what it will take for your body to respond, either ends of the spectrum there or wherever in the spectrum, is dependent on your genetics. It's dependent on your medical history, how much you eat, how well you eat. It's dependent on how much you sleep, current stresses in your life, a whole number of things that really it's you can't just pinpoint it for every single person. So what I would advise is you've had to find what works for you. And even that might shift a little bit. So how much is too much? Well, you have to figure that out. And how much is enough? You have to figure that out too. But let me break it down a little bit for you and show you what I mean by finding your sweet spot, as I call it. First of all, you want to ensure your diet is in check for your goals, whether that be building muscle, losing fat, or maintaining, whatever. You also have to ensure that you get plenty of proper sleep as your body needs it. Now, there has been research done that shows that some people have a rare genetic, I don't know if you want to call it a disorder, but a rare genetic marker that allows them to get by on less sleep than the average person. Less sleep, I mean around 6 hours a night. But by and large, most people need between 8 and 10. 7 on the minimum side, I guess you could get away with that, but 8 and 10 for most people. And that's just, for health and recovery, especially if you're an athlete or you're just very, very much active. So get your diet in check for your goals. Get your sleep in check. Once those two things are in check, then you can see what works for your body. Maybe start out with 3 days of lifting a week. And if you find that you're just feeling like you do more, like you're genuinely feeling like you could do more, then push it to 4 and see how you feel. If you feel like that's a perfect spot for you, stay. If you feel like you could still do a little more, push it to 5 and see how you go. But bear in mind, too, that muscle growth, for instance, occurs when you're not lifting. Lifting tears the muscle down. Your diet gives you the raw materials to help build new muscle. And of course, sleep and rest days are when this occurs. So you're not building while you're in the gym. So the more often you're in the gym, the less you're going to be building, you know. You want to give your body a chance to recover. So, you know, I say, like I said, start with 3, move to 4, move to 5, see what works for you. Another thing I want to note too, on top of genetics and everything else I mentioned drug use. Some athletes are on drugs. A lot of athletes are on drugs, and that definitely affects your recovery capabilities. So a natural will need very different, you know, will have very different recovery needs than somebody who's on drugs. So anyway, back on point. And you may even find this is going to vary between when you're building and when you're not. And of course, it's gonna vary. Period. Like you may find that on some weeks you feel great with 5 days, but some weeks 5 days just feels like too much. Listen to your body. If you go through a week or 2 or 5 days is feeling like too much, let's say you're on a 5-day routine, cut back to 4 and see how that feels. If you are working 4 for a bit and you feel like you could do a little more, then go back up to 5. Shift around. You know, shift around your schedule to see how your body reacts and find your sweet spot. And listen to your body too, because like I said, your sweet spot may even shift around too. Now, about me, personally speaking, I have found that when I want to build muscle, 3 to 4 days a week training in the gym is what works best for me, giving me an additional 3 to 4 days of rest. When I'm trying to cut fat, I find that anywhere in the ballpark of 3 and 5 days, because my focus really isn't on building muscle. It's on losing fat, so being more active, actually. And even my workouts themselves will change a bit, like they might be more superset or tricep based or even giant set based with a lot of intensifiers to keep pushing my body a little further to try to burn through more calories and fat. And all of that. So for me, it even varies between, like I've even advised for you, between what my goals are, building or cutting fat. If I was to maintain, I would probably do 3 to 4 days as well. I'd follow a bulking sort of protocol, 3 to 4 days, give myself some rest, and also because when I'm maintaining, I like to be able to enjoy my life a bit. I'm not trying to build muscle. And I'm not trying to lose fat. I'm just trying to cruise and maintain and keep what I have. And maintain, of course, my fat levels too, so I'm not going to get bigger. And also, I'll also be working in cardio too when I'm trying to lose fat. And, anywhere between 2 to 3 or even maybe more days a week. It all depends on how my body feels. Again, listen to your body, and even that might change week to week. So really, that's all I have to say about that. So just make sure your diet's in check, make sure your sleep is in check, and listen to your body with your training. Don't blindly follow someone else's routine or someone else's diet, because it may not work for your body. In fact, it may even hurt you, or it may not be enough. And one more thing to note too. That right there is your frequency. Volume is something else. Volume is how much work you do within your workout. Again, listen to your body. Some guys can do 2-hour marathon sessions, usually the ones on drugs, hitting up 30 to 40 sets in a given session. Other guys, not so. Me personally, I find that if I go much over 24 to 27 working sets, not warm-up, but working sets, where I really push myself per session, my recovery isn't so great. And I have to tone it back a bit. So you got to find your sweet spot there too, not just in frequency of how many days you train a week, but also the volume within the sessions of how many working sets you do. Anyway, that's my take on how much is too much and how much is enough and what overtraining is in a nutshell. And you'll know the signs when you get it. You'll have maybe flu-like symptoms. You might feel depression. You're going to feel a lack of interest in training. You're going to feel very sore all the time and like you just can't recover. You might even see your lifts going down. You might even see a loss of muscle. Very tired. No matter how much sleep you get, you just can't seem to get enough. These are all signs that you are overtrained. And if you are, instead of pushing yourself further into overtraining, what you should be doing is maybe taking a week off or 2 weeks off or whatever your body feels like it needs. And if you don't want to take time off, then seriously decrease your volume and frequency. Stick to some bare bones basics, maybe a couple to a few times a week. But I would suggest that if you are seriously overtrained, you take the time off. And really, that's all there is to say about that. You don't want to push yourself too far into overtraining. Now, you can use overtraining to your advantage. There is a technique known as overreaching, which is when you, for a very specific and controlled period of time, like a week to 2 weeks, you overtrain your body. You intentionally overtrain your body to shock it a little bit. But that's something you do in a controlled manner, and you stop, and you actually deload afterwards. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. That covers all the bases, and I hope that answers your questions. If you have anything you want to ask beyond that, or you want to add to this, please drop it below in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Monday for a regularly scheduled episode. Until then, stay fit, stay formidable, and stay fantastic. See you around.